Hi guys, welcome to lesson number 3. This is picking up on our first two lessons, which were forward line structure, which had our centre corridor, and the importance of utilising space on either part of the forward line running into. We had our back line, which was all about manning up in positions, but it was much about making sure that we followed some rules, which were the huddle out of the centre, running out wide. We also had the danger zone, which is all of this area in here where we don't want to kick into, and again making sure that we're playing in front and to the side of our backs of the opposition forwards. And this lesson is all about midfield, so it's about connecting, I guess, the space in what they call transition of the play from, if it's in the back, through the midfield to the forward. It's certainly about winning the ball out of the middle and moving the ball forward. It's such an important part of this ground, and even under modified rules, this is probably the most free-flowing part of the game, in that once the ball is in here, aside from, we've got two rules. We've got the first rule, which is when we have possession, we attack and we run, and when we don't have possession, we defend, which means we man up. And these are some really important rules that we have to have as midfielders. It's not just about getting the ball and taking off. We have to always make sure that we are, when we've got the ball, that we take off and we support one another in our run, and when we don't, that we absolutely know where our opposition players are. Positionally, we have our wings out on the side. The wings are really important because they connect these wide expanses out the side between the backs and the forward line, and these guys are normally roles that have to run a lot because they can carry the ball. Even though we can only carry it to here at the moment, traditionally in football, these wings would support in carrying the ball the whole width of the ground, but they also provide support to our centres, which is really important, either defensively or offensively. So that's our wings that we have out wide. We also have some other very important players, which are our ruck rover, our rover, and our centre. Obviously, our ruckman is the person that's nominated to hit the ball in the centre. Our ruck rover traditionally is a taller running footballer, even though in today's terms in football, a lot of our midfielders are very similar. A ruck rover back in the day was a tall, speedy footballer, a marking centreman. The rover was always considered, the rover along with the centre, were two players that were considered smaller and could really get in and get the ball and give it out to this ruck rover who could carry it and mark it. So if I leave those alone, really what we have, if I leave ruck, rover and centre out, we have three centremen that support our ruckman. Our ruckman obviously has to tap the ball out, and that we've got three players here that need to be speaking to our ruck to make sure that we get our hands first on the ball. There's two ways I want to look at this. There's what is called the defensive midfield, which is the defending end where our backs are, and our offensive midfield. And as a ruckman, what you want to make sure is, if we're getting first hands on the ball, that you are explaining to our midfielders where they need to be. We can either have two centres that are forward, where you're planning to hit the ball forward and into our offensive part of the midfield, or if we're struggling to get our hands on the ball and we're maybe not winning possession, we may be looking to have two back on this side and only having one forward. and it also depends on where our opposition players are. But certainly, if I look at today's game, what worked well is that Charles, as our ruckman who rucked all day, was rucking really well, and he was winning the ball well, and he was actually pushing the ball forward, which meant that our two offensive midfielders, when Charles tapped it down, it was actually tapping it down and into the run of play, which meant the likes of James and Alex and Adrian got first hands on the ball. The most important part of this is before we bounce the ball, is the ruckman has to tell where he wants them to be. It can't be a surprise. It can't be just hit and hope. If it's only to one player, if the ruckman's saying that he wants to hit to this guy out here, then that's fine. But these other guys, if we've got opposition player here, and opposition player here, then it's really important that we've got our other two playing on a couple of these players. Now, it's fine if we get away and loose from this play and we're going to back ourselves in to get the possession. But what's really important is that the ruckman is telling one of them to go. These two guys need to make sure that they're protecting and as much manning up these other guys. Through the midfield, what's really important, again, if I look at this, is that we've got defensive and offensive. So that line almost goes all the way through. So again, with our wings, is we can play one defensive wing and one offensive wing. So that means that when the ball is bounced, we can have another number where a wingman can run in and provide another number, and equally, if we lose the tap, then we can have this wing run in and provide another defensive centreman in here. And whether or not you're coming from here or from here, it's the same thing. So it's another way in which we can make sure that we've got right numbers in the ball and that we can win the ball. Equally, that's if the ball's congested. If the wings are playing out wide, it's always important to know that when we've got our ruck and our centreman, that when our wings are out here, is that if we're making possession, if we're taking possession here, always know that we do have our wings where we can push the ball out quickly and our wings are ready to go, ready to run onto it. And that's a really important part of this centre bounce pickup, is that when we take possession, that we're able to kick the ball out or long and direct to our centre half forward. But we're also making use of our wings out wide as part of our offensive game. So, the keys for our midfields. One of the biggest rules is that we talk. That our ruckman explains where we're going to be tapping the ball to. So talking is really important. The other thing is that when we're winning the ball, that we attack. And when I say attack, is that when we take possession, that our midfielders, that if this player takes possession and starts running, is that our other midfielders are also running forward to support them in case they need a hand pass, and that includes our ruckman to start moving down. So attacking is another really important part of it. But when we don't have the ball, it's really important that we defend. And being a midfielder doesn't just mean getting the ball and booting it long. It's sometimes you're not going to win the ball in a centre clearance. And it's really important that when we don't have the ball, that our midfielders are working hard to get back on their players like our defenders have to. We talk about our defenders manning up. It is just vital that as midfielders that we're accountable to the players that we play on, and that we're ready to pick them up if we haven't got the ball and we run hard. So that's a little bit on midfield setup. There's many ways to look at midfield, but that's a reasonably straightforward way, whilst we can explain the roles of what our wings are. We've got our ruckman, our ruck rover, our rover, and our centreman. It's a really straightforward way of explaining what the roles are and what some key important rules are that when we're playing in these positions. So there's lesson number 1, 2, 3, guys. That's the centre line lesson, and I might do one last one to just connect the dots a little bit. Hopefully I won't confuse you too much. All right, boys, have fun. Cheers.